Welcome back to Flagrant Fridays. This is your host, Christian speaking. With me today, of course, as always, is Nick.
Yo, 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 what up?
And today we're going to be finishing up the sumo tournament. I will say it was probably the best tournament I've seen. So if you are thinking about getting into sumo, this is definitely a good one to get into, the January 2026 tournament. With that being said, we're going to also cover our usual stuff. And today's special topic is a sports higher or lower game. So we're just going to jump right into that. So me and Nick both created a list of, I think it's 11 things. Don't ask why it's 11 and not 10. Just accept it.
10 things, but 11 total players.
Yeah, well, I think mine's technically 11. The thing is, we had a sort of starter question and then 10 other questions. So it ends up being kind of 11, I guess. Uh, yeah. Anyways, so I got my list, and Nick's got his list. So we're gonna quiz each other. Now, statistically, because it's higher or lower, we should get it 50% right on average. So both of us should score 5 or 6, I would think, at least. Uh, so I guess, do you want to go first, Nick? I'll give you my list.
All right.
Okay. So my starting thing is Joe Flacco had 4,176 yards in his NFL career. Does Russell Wilson have higher or lower yards all time?
What were the yards?
4,800, 176.
I feel like Russell Wilson's got to have more yards in his career. Wait, is it passing? You say passing?
Yeah, passing. That's actually a good question.
I'm going to say Russell Wilson regardless.
I think it's passing yards. Let me check.
In a season or full career?
Full career. So Joe Flacco's retired, obviously. Russ is still going.
He's only got 4,000 yards.
No,
Oh,
48,176.
48,000. I thought you said 4,800.
It's passing yards only, by the way.
I feel like Russell Wilson, he's had some 4,000 yard seasons.
So you're gonna say higher?
But he also, I'm going to say lower because he's also had some low seasons because of the Broncos.
I think he's played like less years about, but that is correct. He is lower. He has 46,966.
Oh, that was pretty close.
He's only about 1,000 off. I believe Joe Flacco was like 16th all time on the list. Okay, next question. Does Russell Westbrook have higher or lower kids than Russell Wilson?
I think Russell Wilson has two kids, maybe three. Um, I'm going to say higher. I feel like Russell Westbrook gets busy.
That is incorrect.
Oh,
Russell Westbrook has 3 kids and Wilson has 4.
I didn't know about that fourth kid. That really threw me off.
All right, next question. Does Steve Nash have higher or lower all-time assists than Russell Westbrook?
Steve Nash is ahead of Westbrook.
So you're going to say higher?
Higher, yeah.
That is correct, but only by about 100. Steve Nash has 10,355 and Russell Westbrook has 10,246. That one's tricky,
Yes, yes, yes.
unless you just looked at the list for yours.
For my yes, but I didn't look at Russell Westbrook.
I figured that might happen. All right. Does Damian Lillard have higher or lower conference final appearances than Steve Nash?
Steve Nash and Damian Lillard. I feel like Steve Nash because he was. I'm not going to say that because it's part of my list. Steve Nash was a good on good teams like the Lakers, so I'm going to say Steve Nash has more.
So you're saying lower.
Yeah, so lower than Steve Nash.
That is correct. Damian Lillard has one conference final appearance, and Steve Nash has four, although Steve Nash has never made the finals. But Dame hasn't either. All right. Does Ray Allen have higher or lower free throw percentage all time than Damian Lillard?
Ray Allen being a 3-point specialist, I think he's going to be higher on the list.
You're acting like Dame isn't a three-point specialist.
But Ray Allen was the 3-point specialist.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. So you're saying higher?
Yeah.
Or no? Yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, wrong, actually. Ray Allen has a lower free throw percentage all time than Dame. Very slightly. He has a .8939 to Dame's .8990. So it's .0061 difference.
So not even barely over half of a percent.
But I will say, as much as that seems unfair, when I was looking at the all-time list, both of those players were in like the top five, and there was a player separating those two, just so you know. So that just goes to show that the all-time free throw percentage list is like very tiny differences. While we're at it, do you know who's in first place?
I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say Curry.
It is Curry. It's like I think it's like .91. All right, next question. Does Terry Bradshaw have higher or lower championship winning percentage than Ray Allen? So Super Bowl versus NBA final. Who has the higher winning percentage?
Jeez. I'm gonna say I don't really know how many Ray Allens made it to. So I'm gonna say I also don't know how many Terry Bradshaw's made it to, but I know how many he's won. I'm gonna say Terry Bradshaw.
So you're saying higher?
Higher, yeah.
That is correct. Terry Bradshaw is 4 for 4 with a 100% win rate. And Ray Allen is 2 for 4 with 50% win rate. Did you know that Ray had 4?
No, but I knew that he won with the Celtics and who else did he win with? The
The
Heat?
Heat. Yeah.
I didn't know he made it 4 times though.
Yeah. I didn't know Terry Bradshaw won that many Super Bowls. I didn't know much about him as a player.
I didn't know he made it to that many Super Bowls. I thought he had at least a couple Super Bowl losses, but I also don't follow old NFL like that.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, next question. Does Lou Holtz have a higher or lower age than Bradshaw?
Lou Holtz? Is that guy from Notre Dame?
Yep, he used to coach Notre Dame.
Jeez, Bradshaw played in the 70s, I think. Maybe 80s. I feel like Lou Holtz is older, so higher.
That is correct. He is 89 and Bradshaw is 77. Pretty big difference there, actually. All right, next question. Does James Franklin have an all-time winning percentage higher or lower than Lou Holtz? This is
As a
counting
head
all
coach,
as a head coach in college football. This is all the schools they've ever coached. So keep that in mind.
you really went in depth. I didn't even go to coaches. I'm going to say, I don't really know Lou Holtz like that, so I'm just going to go
Would it
with
help if I told you how many schools they've coached?
probably.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you which schools, but James Franklin has coached at 2 schools, and Lou Holtz has coached at 6.
Now that has me wondering if you're including Virginia Tech in the 2 schools.
Well, he hasn't played with them yet.
He coached 1 or 2 games, I thought, this year.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Well, that didn't pop up on the list where I got this number from, so that
Because
is
they
not
lost both
included.
games.
That is not included in the 2 schools.
Well, I'll say James Franklin, so higher.
That is correct. James Franklin has a winning percentage of .681, and Lou Holtz has a .651 winning percentage. I believe the other school that James Franklin coached at was Vanderbilt.
Oh, yeah, I remember that picture of him with a full head of hair.
But from what I looked up, The reason that Lou Holtz is lower is because he coached at some small schools, and if we're looking at just his Notre Dame winning percentage, he's at like .8 something. So that really held him back. All right, next question. This question was originally about the height above sea level where these people were born. But that was really hard to look up. Does Shaun White have a higher or lower height than James Franklin?
You brought snowboarding into this too?
I wanted to segue into the Olympics.
I'm gonna say because I have no idea because this is just the most oddest of higher or lower questions.
It's still better than the elevation question.
I'm gonna say Sean White
Is what?
higher.
That is incorrect. Shaun White is 5'8", and James Franklin is estimated to be 6 foot to 6'1".
Gee, that was really close.
All right, next question. Does Kobe Bryant have higher or lower Olympic medals than Shaun White?
See, Kobe won in 2008. I would assume he was on the 2014. He won in 2012, I believe, too. So there's three. I feel like doesn't the Winter Olympics happen every year or every 2 years or
No,
something?
it's every 4 years, just like the
Oh, it is
summer.
every
It's
four
just
years.
it's 2 years between winter and
Oh,
summer. It's,
okay. Kind of hard because I don't know how old Sean White is. I just know who he is.
oh, he did retire.
Oh, he did retire, so he's retirement age. I'll go Kobe is higher.
I need to fact check mine because I think when I looked it up, it was giving me gold medals only.
Oh, that's what I was basing it off of. I don't think I heard
I'm
your question
saying,
all the way.
sorry,
Like total medals, like gold or silver or bronze.
yeah, total medals.
Sean White then, because I know NBA or USA men's basketball team has only won gold for like the longest time. And then I think,
Well, the question
and
becomes how many did Kobe go to and stuff?
he went to either three or four. I'm pretty sure because I don't think he went to the '96 team, although he could have.
Okay, so I double checked and both of them have only won gold medals.
Okay, I'll stick with Kobe then.
So you think Kobe has higher?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. Kobe only has 2 gold medals to Shaun White's 3.
Oh, did Kobe only play in 2008 and 2012?
Yep, apparently. And Shaun White, his third medal he won, he was pretty old and after like coming off of an injury, so no one thought he was going to win it again. I remember watching that live. It was awesome. All right, next and final question. Was Steph Curry's first shoe deal with Under Armour higher or lower in amount than Kobe's first shoe deal with Adidas?
I feel like it's got to be higher because it is further along in time. Like with players' contracts, you see them higher and higher and higher as time goes on. Than like if Michael Jordan got a contract in the '90s. So I'm gonna say Steph Curry's is higher.
It is higher, but not for the reason you thought. Because if we were going off of Kobe's Nike deal, I think his was higher by a lot. It was higher because Kobe was only 17 years old.
I was also kind of thinking of that because it would have been their first shoe deals because I knew that Kobe was with Nike.
Yeah, so from what I saw, Steph Curry's first deal was $4 million and Kobe's was $1 million, which I forgot that he even had a deal with anyone other than Nike.
Well,
I bet some of
seven.
those Adidas go for a lot of money nowadays,
I bet they're really hard to find too.
probably. So you got 7 out of 11. That's pretty good.
All right. So for the first one, I have championship appearances. This counts for AFC, NFC, and Super Bowl.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
This is for championship appearances. This counts the AFC, NFC, and Super Bowl.
Okay.
So Bill Russell has higher or lower championship appearances than Tom Brady.
So, this is tough because if we're talking about outright championships, I'm pretty sure Bill Russell has more. Now the question becomes, did Bill Russell win all of those championships and then just retire, whereas Tom Brady reached the conference championships many times? I think Bill Russell played long enough that it should work out, but this is a little tough. I think Bill Russell had a higher amount.
Tom Brady had the higher amount with 14. Bill Russell had 12.
So, didn't Bill Russell have 11 championships?
He had 11 rings and lost one.
So he only, how long did he play? He just like quit after that then?
He became the coach, I'm pretty sure.
That's kind of unfortunate then.
He played 13 seasons, so he didn't make the finals in only one of his seasons.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking Tom. I just kind of thought maybe Bill played a little bit longer than he did.
Yeah, it is kind of tough because you have to account for AFC and NFC championships, whereas the NBA it's only just the finals.
Oh, it was just the finals? I thought you were counting the conference championships for the NBA.
No, those weren't. Those are just semifinals, quarterfinals, whatever. Those aren't actual championships. I mean, they weren't when Bill Russell was there. Now they get a trophy if they move on. But like
Oh.
5 years ago, it wasn't a trophy that was awarded. I don't believe.
Oh, well, if I would have known that, I would have said Tom Brady. I think we should give that to me because I was like, that's what my thinking was. I
Well,
was
you were
thinking
even talking
11.
about finals. You weren't saying conference finals.
Well, that's what I meant. I was saying he has 11 championships plus however many conference finals, but I didn't know there wasn't any conference finals
We'll
in the
give you a
NBA.
half point.
I think I should get the full point because if I knew that, I would have said 11 to Tom Brady's Super Bowls, and then he played like 20 something years. So that would have been like five more at least. Yeah, whatever. I'll take the half point. I think that's kind
Just ball knowledge.
of whatever. All right, next question.
Next, we have higher or lower. Shaq has higher or lower rebounds than Bill Russell in their career.
This is tough because I think Shaq played longer. But I'm gonna go with Bill Russell because that's kind of what he's known for.
It is Bill Russell. Bill Russell had 21,620 to Shaq's 13,099. So nearly 8,500 difference.
People couldn't shoot back then. More rebounds.
That and he was like the tallest player in the league for the longest time.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has higher or lower career points than Shaq.
Um. Well, I just saw him went up to like 6 all time on the leaderboard, I think. And if I recall, I don't think Shaq is that high on that. So I'm gonna say KD has more.
KD does have more. He has 31,681 to Shaq's 28,596. So about 3,000 points. Who has more MVPs? Steve Nash, higher or lower to Kevin Durant?
Well, Steve Nash has two. I just saw this today.
I didn't want to say it if you didn't know it. That's why I said I
But
wasn't going to say it earlier.
KD, how many does KD have? We're talking league MVP, not finals.
Yeah, just regular league MVPs.
As far as I know, he won it in I think 2015, I want to say. And then I don't feel like he won it while on the Warriors. So I think Steve Nash has more.
Steve Nash has two. Kevin Durant has one.
That's what I thought. Was it 2015?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Elite ball knowledge.
Does Jason Kidd have more assists than Steve Nash? Higher or lower is what I meant to say.
Well, I just looked at the assist thing, but I don't remember seeing Jason Kidd on it. So, but I feel like I think of Jason as a more of an assist player, but he might have played less. I'm gonna say Steve Nash has more, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not right.
So incorrect. Jason Kidd had 12,091 assists to Steve Nash's 10,335.
Bummer. You know, and I think I knew that too. Because isn't he in second place to somebody?
He's in third place, I believe, behind Chris Paul. John Stockton's in first place.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that. Duh. You know, I should have got that.
Next up, we have Iguodala has higher or lower career earnings than Jason Kidd.
This is tough because they played slightly different time periods, so that could affect the money.
But Jason Kidd
He,
was a star player.
I know he was a star, but Iguodala was a Finals MVP and won multiple championships. I feel like he's gonna get probably money for that. He's gonna get probably some sort of advertisement deal. I feel like it has to be Iguodala.
So Iguodala higher.
Yeah.
Iguodala's career earnings is 185 million to Jason Kidd's 182 million.
Wow, that was close.
Next, Philip Rivers higher or lower height than Iguodala.
Who?
Philip Rivers.
Well, Philip Rivers is pretty tall, but most quarterbacks aren't taller than like 6'4", 6'5". Iguodala, I believe, was at least 6'6", so I think Iguodala's taller.
Iguodala is taller. He is 6'6" to Philip Rivers 6'5".
Hey, let's go. You can't be quizzing me on Warriors players, man. Come on now.
Does Sean Alexander have higher or lower children than Philip Rivers?
Um, I don't know a ton about Sean Alexander, but I do
That's
know
kind
that
of why
Philip,
I chose him.
but I'm pretty sure Philip Rivers has quite a lot of kids. So I'm gonna say Philip has more.
Incorrect. Sean Alexander has 14 kids to
Oh
Philip
my,
Rivers' 10 kids.
what?
I
Is it all with like one person?
believe it's with multiple people.
Okay. Or I thought you were gonna say he was like a sperm donor and he has like 200 or something. Okay,
career
fair enough.
career rushing yards. Does Saquon Barkley have higher or lower career rushing yards than Sean Alexander?
I know Saquon is, I think, top 5 on something. I don't remember if it's touchdowns or yards. So I'm just gonna go with my gut and say Saquon has more.
Incorrect. Sean Alexander has 9,453 rushing yards to Saquon Barkley's 8,356.
It's always tough when it's a player who's still active.
Mm-hmm.
I started really good, I'm falling off.
Next, we got Emmett Smith has higher or lower fumbles lost than Saquon.
So they fumbled and they lost the ball? Or they just fumbled?
They just fumbled.
I don't know a ton about Emmitt Smith, but I don't feel like Saquon fumbles a lot. Or maybe I'm misremembering and he does. I'm just gonna say Emmett has more.
Correct. Emmett Smith has 45 fumbles and Saquon has 6.
Wow.
I wanted to
Oh
throw
wow.
in a running back legend in there to kind of throw you off. Up next, Barry Sanders has higher or lower touchdowns than Emmett Smith career.
Does this count both sides of the ball?
Total touchdowns.
Because didn't Barry Sanders play multiple positions?
I think you're thinking of Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah, you're right. Barry Sanders was a running back.
Mm.
Um, who was the other guy? Emmitt Smith?
Emmett Smith or Barry Sanders?
I think Emmitt Smith has more touchdowns, but Barry has more yards. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Barry is lower in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Correct. Barry Sanders has 109 total touchdowns, and Emmett Smith has 175 total touchdowns.
And who has more yards? Was I right?
Barry Sanders has 15,269, And Emmett Smith has 18,355. So Emmett
Oh,
Smith has more.
is both. Okay, fair enough.
So 7, debatable 8.
That was it. That's my final.
Yep.
So I had 7 or 8. We'll call it 7.5 out of 11 to your 7. Either way, I think we both did pretty good. I think we both had pretty decent thought processes.
See what that percentage is. We went approximately 64%
And I went 70% roughly on the high end.
on the high end. Yeah.
Not bad. That's better than the 50-50 that it could have been.
Yeah. Better than your prediction.
Well, I kind of figured we'd both do pretty well. Okay. Well, with that being said, let's move on to the college football section.
We had some updates this week on the college football playoff system. It's going to remain at a 12-team field for 2026, but has some new changes. Like the automatic bids will go to each Power Four conference champion, which are the Big Ten, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12, regardless of rank. Last year we saw them take that away, and I guess they're bringing it back for next season. Notre Dame will get its guaranteed at-large bid if they're ranked in the top 12 in the final AP poll and college football poll. We already talked about that a little bit earlier. I think it was the first or second podcast that they were getting an automatic bid based off of some kind of agreement that they had with the committee. And then, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that Notre Dame thing because in the playoff scenario from this year, with this new system, Miami beat Notre Dame in the head to head matchup. Miami finished with the same record, and they had a better resume as Miami. Or, no, sorry. Miami had the better resume, and Miami would still be left out, putting Notre Dame in based off the rankings from this season. So that begs the question, is college football choosing the best brands over the best teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that they're going back to the Power Four bid immediately after changing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they changed it just to go back to it. I don't know if it was just a trial and it didn't work how they wanted to, even though I thought it was a good idea.
I don't think I don't think they like the idea of people being rewarded for not winning the conference championship.
Although we did talk about how that's not really a reward because they're 1-7 in the bye weeks.
Yeah, I know. So it's like I don't know. I honestly thought this playoff was relatively good. Like we had a lot of the lower ranked teams do pretty well. But I don't know if that was because of the format or it just was a this year sort of thing. I'm kind of 50-50 on the Notre Dame thing because with them being independent, there has to be some sort of rule to say like how they qualify, I feel like. But like where you draw that line is pretty tough.
And I haven't looked much into it. I don't know if this is just a 1 year thing or if this is every year
I
within this new
imagine,
system.
I mean, I have a feeling they're going to try to expand it again next year. They're just hopefully might agree on it. I don't know. It might not be super big. It could be up to 14 or 16 teams.
In my opinion, with going back to the best brands over the best teams, I think it makes them more money if they put the best brands in over the best teams. But I think they would overall make a good profit if they put the best teams in because more people would want to watch that.
Yeah. Moving on. The national championship game this year racked in 30.1 million viewers, making it the second most viewed national championship game. Oregon versus Ohio State in 2015 was the most viewed at 33.9 million. Um, this kind of follows a trend that we've been seeing this year with increased viewership, so that part of it I'm not too surprised about. But I also think uh, Miami has a pretty big fan base. And I think a lot of people wanted to see if Indiana could pull it off because that's a lot of people like to get behind like feel good stories like that.
Yeah, I think part of it being Miami playing their home game and or the national championship as a home game, and Indiana on the verge of getting their first national championship really sparked viewership, as well as people wanting to see new people in the championship for the first time. And I want to say, well, besides Michigan and Washington, probably about 10 years.
Yeah. But I hope that this is a trend that keeps going up. You know, a lot of people are complaining about the current state of college football, but the viewership numbers seem great. In other news, Ohio State is signing former Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith as their next offensive coordinator. I saw a lot of people are very unhappy about this. I was talking to a friend because I was on a trip for school. He's a Steelers fan and actually an Ohio State fan. And he said that this offensive coordinator is the type of guy to play very old school, doesn't really try like new things or things that are like statistically proven to do well in the current state of the game. He also said that he tends to pick favorites where he'll play people that he likes over people that are paid more or starters. He said that that happened with the Steelers tight end or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how that plays out at Ohio State. I know they got a lot of good players, including bench players. I don't know if he will pan out because I know the Steelers didn't really have a good season offensively. So that's kind of a weird signing for Ohio State, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell because sometimes when NFL coaches move to the college football, they really excel. It's really hard to tell, but yeah, I mean, I'll go in optimistically concerned, is what I'll say, because it does concern me that he's willing to play certain people that he likes over, like, from what I heard, one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL. I'm not sure who he was referring to, but yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to take out like Jeremiah Smith or something like that. But who knows? Time will tell. I heard that he also is a bit run focused, which could be somewhat beneficial with Bo Jackson returning. Because, you know, the run game can open up the passing game.
Earlier this week, the NCAA approved uniform patches for next season. They can have two patches, no more than 4 inches, for regular season games. College football playoff, March Madness, and the College World Series are currently undecided on if they will allow these patches during those times. Research showed teams could make between $500,000 to $12 million for their patches over the season. So, I mean, it's a good move for NIL for those teams, but I don't see college football moving in the right direction with NIL, in my personal opinion. Duke and Darian Mensah, we've talked about this a little bit over the past week or so. Um, there was an issue with him trying to sign with Miami. He had signed an NIL deal to stay with Duke and then decided he was going to enter the transfer portal. And so they came to an agreement for Mensah to move out of Duke, even though they had that NIL deal together. Duke made a statement saying, "We are committed to fulfilling all promises and obligations Duke makes to our student athletes when we enter into contractual agreements with them, and we expect the same in return. Enforcing those agreements is a necessary element of ensuring predictability and structure for athletic programs. It is nonetheless a difficult choice to pursue legal action against a student and teammate. For this reason, we sought to resolve the matter." So, like I said, Mensah will be going to Miami next season. So, I mean, kind of sucks for Duke because they felt it was wrong to pursue legal action against a student, but they're also missing out on all that money to Mensah. That was an agreement. And we're honestly seeing a lot of that in NIL where they're just going for the money. And we saw some earlier this year with the Washington quarterback. He ended up staying with Washington, of course, but Yeah, I don't know where this is going to trend in the future. If we're going to see more of this, or if we're going to see a little less, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a interesting situation, and it seems like we're seeing similar things to this all the time lately. Lawsuits and everything else. One question I had about the uniform patches was, is that for like advertisement or like special school related things?
I believe it's for advertisement, so the schools can make money off of those patches.
Okay.
And I didn't specify, but I did mention March Madness and College World Series. It is for all college sports.
Ohio State wide receiver commit Jaquaden Guilford went up 114 spots in the final recruiting rankings, the largest jump by any recruit in the nation. He said that if I hadn't gotten to the Ohio State offer, I was going to be done playing football. I have no idea if Ohio State just somehow saw something in this kid or needed to fill out their practice squad or if he knows one of our players that would keep them happy or something, but it's always good to see someone who's kind of underlooked get a chance, even if he doesn't start or anything.
Yeah, I like that he was given a chance, and that, I mean, it's kind of sad that he said he's going to give up football, but it's cool that he was able to get an offer and able to continue his football career onto the next level. And with him jumping those spots, it kind of shows it was worth him staying with football. Moving on to the transfer portal class rankings. So these are based off of what transfers came in, based off of their play and their overall like rankings based off, I believe it's their star rankings. So at number 1, LSU, Texas Tech, Indiana, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Michigan, Texas A&M at 10, Auburn, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame at 15, Louisville, Colorado, Cal, Oregon, Tennessee at 20, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Missouri at 25.
So there's a couple of things I want to note here. Obviously, LSU being at one is could be a sign of things to come. Indiana being at three, it makes sense, but it just reinforces the fact that Indiana might be a dynasty coming up. Penn State at six after losing their head coach is a bit of a surprise. On the same note, Virginia Tech at 14 because James Franklin went there is pretty cool to see.
Well, Penn State, they got all of Iowa State's players because of the Iowa State coach.
That's true. Um, and then Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma all being 22 or below is a little surprising, but I know sometimes they like to build their players like that they already had. So I don't know if they have a lot of young players who are coming back, and that might be why, but it's maybe a little concerning. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we saw in that stat that you showed, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, Georgia and Ohio State were towards the top teams that are recruited players for starters compared to transfer players. Obviously, we see Ohio State top five, but I don't think they pulled in a bunch of recruits. Um, just mainly good recruits. Um, so I guess we'll see what teams really pan out. I know LSU didn't have the greatest of seasons last year, but Lane Kiffin going in, that really gave them a spark in the transfer portal. I'm actually surprised Ole Miss is not a little higher since Lane Kiffin is out and they got a new coach. Because I know a lot of people, and they made it pretty far in the playoffs too. So
Well, I think they lost quite a few players, so people were maybe a little concerned to transfer there. And last, we have just a few players declaring for the NFL draft. We have Fernando Mendoza and Omar Cooper Jr. There might have been more, but I didn't see any.
Yeah, those are the only two big names I saw. Um, I'm pretty sure everybody else pretty much committed besides those two Indiana players. I'm sure there's a couple Miami players that I didn't see.
Before we move on to our next segment, I want to kind of bring up one question for you, Nick. I've been seeing online lately that a lot of people are pointing out that since the Big Ten has won the last three championships, and now that NIL is a thing, that it kind of shows that the SEC was kind of buying players in the past. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's hard to say because there's no actual evidence to back it up, but I don't know because if you think about SEC, they're Southern schools. They had good coaches. They had good players going there. Alabama constantly in the national championship, so players are going to want to go there. Georgia constantly in the national championship. I think in the late 2010s into the 2020s. But yeah, like I said, it's hard to say because those southern schools have better temperatures. They'd have warmer winters rather than freezing cold winters.
And it's a decent pipeline state area too.
Hmm.
So if you're just going to recruit people from that area, you got a good um really selection to choose from. I know like Texas and California is another hot spot. Ohio obviously. Um Florida. But yeah, I'm kind of mixed. I like you said, I don't think there's a lot of evidence to say that, but it is a little suspicious, I guess, or coincidental maybe that the Big Ten after introducing NIL is all of a sudden doing very well. But also this is right after like Nick Saban and some other people left. So is it NIL or is it just like the South is kind of in rebuild mode? It's hard to say.
So now we will be moving on to the NFL segment. And I wanted to bring this up first because this left me speechless when I read this yesterday, Tuesday. So Bill Belichick, if you don't know, he's the 8-time Super Bowl winning coach. He did it 6 times with New England as a head coach and 2 times with the New York Giants as a defensive coordinator. Well, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if you don't know what a first ballot Hall of Famer is, it means your first term that you're eligible to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Belichick fell short of the 40 out of 50 votes needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Um, I believe he was 40 out of 50, actually. He needed 10 votes. There was 10 voters that didn't vote for him.
30.
And I want to talk, oh, 30 people voted for him, I guess.
You said 40
Yeah, 30 out of 40.
out of
30
50.
out of 50 voted for him, and then 10 skipped out or whatever. I'm not really sure how it works. I just know 10 didn't vote for him, and that left him out.
Yeah. Well, I saw this as well, but I don't know how biased some of the voters are, but I do know a lot of people have kind of lost respect for Bill Belichick after he went back to college football and kind of did some weird things with his super young girlfriend. And also, a lot of people say that like Tom Brady carried those teams and they could have done it with a different coach. So I really do wonder how much hearing things like that affects the mindset of the voters. Agree he probably should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, even if he was getting carried by Brady, even if his career now is a little weird or bad. But I don't know. I just feel like he's done too much and broke too many records not to.
So I wanted to point out some stats that I saw um, of him as a head coach compared to other head coaches. So he has 6 Super Bowls, like I mentioned, which is first among other head coaches, 9 conference championships, which is first, 31 playoff wins, which is first, 302 regular season wins, which is third, and 333 total wins, which is including the playoffs, and he's the second.
I mean, What are your thoughts about like the thing I said? Do you think that that influences the voters?
I think it could potentially influence the voters, but I don't know what they're thinking when they're voting yes or no. But I mean, the stats don't lie whether he was carried by Brady or not. He's first in three categories and top three in the other two categories.
Yeah, I mean, this is a strange situation for sure.
I also wanted to point out that Eli Manning did not make the cut for the Hall of Fame this year either.
Really, I thought we announced him.
He was a finalist, I believe.
Oh, gotcha. I guess the voters this year must have like been on the losing side of some of these players, maybe, or coaches. That's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah, I have no idea. This is kind of a weird Hall of Fame year.
You almost wonder if the NFL should look into changing some of the people that can vote.
I'm sure they might debate it after that Belichick one.
I'm sure Belichick doesn't care.
Yeah.
Well, moving on. Shedeur Sanders replaces Drake May in the Pro Bowl, despite having an 18.9 QBR this season. How did Shedeur make the Pro Bowl? Just because of votes?
I believe so.
How much of fan vote is like part of the Pro Bowl selection? Because I know in the NBA the fan vote is very minor, isn't it?
Yeah, the NBA, the fan vote is minor. I don't know about the NFL.
That's the only reason I could
I
see
have a
them making the Pro
feeling
Bowl.
I know a lot of players end to or seem to opt out of the Pro Bowl because it's not a sought out game as big as it was in the 90s and stuff.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but even still, how I just don't see how he makes it unless it's fan votes.
Yeah, I have no idea. That's the only thing I could think of is people opting out or fan votes are 100%.
Or is it by maybe division or teams or something? Like you have to have so many from everything?
No, it's just conference.
Hmm, that's odd.
So we had some sad news earlier last week after recording, I believe it was Thursday. Former Philadelphia Eagles and Oakland Raiders 55-year-old defensive tackle Kevin Johnson was stabbed to death at a homeless encampment in Los Angeles. Reports say he suffered stab wounds and blunt head trauma, and there are no current updates on who it was or what the motive was behind the killing.
Was there any information on why he was there?
Uh, they didn't say anything. It was kind of a short story.
Because I saw some people thinking that like he himself was homeless, but I didn't see anything to like confirm that or not.
I just looked it up, and it says friends told local ABC affiliate that the former Pro Bowl player may have been suffering from CTE or chronic traumatic encephal, however you say it. Brain disease by repeated head injuries that is commonly associated with football players. Um, I guess that's the reason they believe he was why he was homeless.
So he
I don't
was
know.
homeless, right?
Yeah, he was living in the encampment,
Okay.
is what
Yeah,
they
I mean,
believe.
yeah, that's really sad. Um, I've heard multiple people just talk about how they don't want to let their kids play football, and I can't really say I blame them.
I mean, it's cool to watch your kids play, but at what risk?
And the thing about CTE is like we're gonna have to study it for many more years, implement the technology to prevent it, and then wait even longer to see if it even worked, you know?
Yeah, so very sad. I mean, prayers and condolences out to his family because you never want to see someone killed, especially a family member or someone you know and love. So hopefully their family gets through the grieving process safely, and hopefully something like this does not happen again for a long time. But who knows?
Yeah, definitely a sad situation. In other news, the Buffalo Bills are the first team in NFL history to lose by 3 points or less in the playoffs in 3 straight seasons. They lost to the Chiefs in 2023 by 3 points, the Chiefs in 2024 by 3 points, and then the Broncos this year by 3 points. It's really sad. I know we talked about how they could have been a dynasty last week, but this is just another stat that kind of proves that.
Yeah, they were a field goal away from forcing overtime. Or I guess they were in overtime against the Broncos. Uh, they were a field goal away from not losing.
Actually, I think that was the game winner because I think they already had a stop or something.
Yeah, that controversial interception call.
Um, yeah, they've gotten so close, but it's hard to say if they're going to get close again because they have a new coach now. But I did see something that said like most coaches win Super Bowls within like the first 3 or 4 years, I think. So there is some merit to getting rid of coaches that have been there for a while.
Yeah, especially if you have a continuous result.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey is the first player in NFL history to be a finalist for MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Year, all in the same season.
What makes him comeback eligible? Was he injured or
I believe he was injured last season.
it's I feel like comeback could have different criteria. Like you could view it as injury or just they had a bad year.
He had a severe 2024 Achilles and knee injury.
Well, that's pretty cool though. I don't think he's winning MVP though.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to either Drake May or Matt Stafford.
Speaking of Drake May, he became the second youngest quarterback to make it to the Super Bowl. Dan Marino is in first only by 35 days.
That's pretty close. I
Yeah,
wonder if it was the same amount of years or how it was. Like seasons, I should say, not years. Like, did it take Dan Marino 2 seasons, or did it take him 3 seasons, or did it take him 1 season?
it is a little odd though. Drake May's only 23. I would have figured there would be someone that was like 21 or 22, like straight out of college.
Well, we almost saw it with C.J. Stroud if he would have beat the Ravens his rookie year.
How old was he then?
I think it was 21,
Hmm.
21 or 22. Ohio State is the only school with multiple Rookie of the Year finalists this season, with Travion Henderson and Emeka Ibuka running for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Are either of those the favorite?
I have not seen anything on it yet, but we will talk more about awards next week because I believe they come out this weekend.
Al Harris is the defensive coach nobody is talking about. The last 4 years he was in Dallas and they had the most interceptions with 72. And his first year in Chicago, the team had the most interceptions with 23. Trevon Diggs in Dallas led the NFL in interceptions. Deron Bland in Dallas led the NFL in interceptions, and Devin Byard in Chicago led the NFL in interceptions. I will say though, as good of a coach as he is in terms of getting interceptions, I don't think interceptions is the only thing that measures a defensive coordinator's ability.
But still impressive.
Yeah, it is. I just think watching the Bears in the playoffs this year, I didn't think the defense was super duper good. But maybe I'm a little biased because I'm used to watching the Seahawks defense. But either way, there definitely is some room for improvement, and that might just require players, not even necessarily a coaching change.
I did look it up, and the NFL awards are next Thursday, so we won't report it next week. We'll report it the following week.
Gotcha.
Anyways, the NFL divisional round playoff games averaged 39.2 million viewers. This is the second most watched since 1988. The Rams versus Bears game in particular was the most watched divisional round game ever with 45.4 million viewers.
That's crazy. But then again, I know how much the Bears fans have been wanting something like this for years, so that's probably a large part of the viewership.
Yeah, plus I think mainly that, and part of it probably has to do with Stafford's MVP season, and this was probably one of the best games out of all the divisional round games.
Yeah. Um, I mean, with all these viewership records this year, I wouldn't be surprised if March Madness is next.
Only time will tell.
In other news, The NFC Championship game marked the third championship game since 1970 to feature the number one scoring offense against the number one scoring defense from the regular season.
which was, of course, Seattle and the Rams.
I mean, that stat doesn't surprise me that much because you could have the number one and number one on opposite divisions, you know?
I was thinking about that too. Or you could even have a team with number one offense and number one scoring defense.
True, I wonder how rare that is though. Probably pretty rare. Um, yeah, so that doesn't surprise me too much. But that is cool though. That was a good game I heard. I didn't get to watch it, unfortunately.
Was indeed a good game.
I had the score on my phone while I was watching White Chicks, so
I felt like a Bears fan.
yeah.
I was like constantly on the edge of a heart attack the whole time.
Yeah, I'm almost glad I didn't watch it, then I didn't need that. I was on a trip and then I was enjoying life. So, alright. Uh, Speaking of the Seahawks general manager, John Schneider, is the first GM in NFL history to reach multiple Super Bowls with the same organization while having a new head coach and no players from the previous Super Bowl team. That kind of makes sense because a lot of times GMs get fired after they're doing bad, and then when the new players and stuff come in, that's when a new Super Bowl would happen.
He's doing a really good job as Seattle's GM. I didn't think of so 3 or 4 years ago, but that was just the beginning of the JSN, the Witherspoon, the Tariq Woolen, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it's been a slow build, hasn't it? I remember every year we've been saying like, "Oh, this is a good pickup in the draft," but what about all these other guys, you know?
Yeah.
But those one or two guys, over time, you got a team.
Staying on the topic of the Seahawks, Aiden Durden is the first British coordinator, the Seahawks defensive coordinator, to make a Super Bowl. This really isn't headline news, but I thought it was really interesting that um, I didn't even know we had a British coordinator on our team.
I didn't either.
I wonder if he was maybe associated with rugby before.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, maybe. Also, Seahawks advanced to their fourth ever Super Bowl. I don't know about you, Nick, but as a Seahawks fan, I'm like very happy.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, everybody had very low expectations for the Seahawks, some having them finish at the bottom of the NFC West, some having them finish in like 5 or 6 wins. So I really didn't have high expectations this season going in because if everybody else was kind of talking about them and ranking them. And also, like we mentioned in previous podcasts, how JSN was moving from wide receiver 2 or 3 to wide receiver 1.
And the cap space.
Yeah, all the cap space. It really puts a thought in your mind if Seattle could have a dynasty soon.
Yeah, I mean, time flies, but when you put it in context, it's kind of crazy to see them back again after so many years. I mean, the last time they were in the Super Bowl, we were in what, middle school?
That would have been 2014 Super Bowl. So 12 years ago now, if I'm remembering right. So 10 years old would have been fifth grade.
So we weren't even in middle school yet. That's
That was the
crazy.
first Super Bowl I ever watched, actually, the Patriots and Seahawks Super Bowl.
Really?
And I was the only one up in the house. And they threw the interception on the 2 yard line. And I
I
was
remember
cheering the whole
watching that.
game because they were doing good. And then I was like quietly cheering because everybody was sleeping. And they didn't know I was up watching the Super Bowl because we were supposed to go to bed, but I snuck back downstairs to watch the rest of the game. And
I
then
remember I remember watching that and then I think I'd like turned around and just stared at my wall. I was probably screaming too, I don't remember, but it sucked. That was like one of my worst sports memories I've ever had.
It was actually the same thing for the Ohio State National Championship in 2014. I was supposed to go to bed. I snuck back downstairs to watch it. And I was just jumping around when they won. Um, but anyways,
I fell
yeah.
asleep during the Ohio State game that year. So I woke up and I'm like, did they win? And my mom's like, yep.
So yeah, it's cool to see them back for the first time since Super Bowl 49. Um, and of course, it's a rematch against the Patriots.
I mean, yeah, I
Hopefully,
mean, you couldn't write it better.
so
Shout out to
hopefully,
script writers.
yeah, hopefully they can get their revenge and finally win against the Patriots.
It is a little odd though, because while it is a revenge game, they are two completely different organizations at this point.
I do want to mention though, I did see earlier this year the Seahawks do play the Patriots in Seattle next season, so they kind of get another rematch next season, the
Hmm,
Super Bowl rematch.
that'll be fun.
Which after Super Bowl 49, they had a rematch the next season in Foxborough. So is there a little bit of script writing there? Seems like there's always Super Bowl rematches the following season.
We might have to use that to predict the future Super Bowl winners.
Next season, we'll predict the Super Bowl matchup based off of the next season's schedules. If they're fully released, I don't believe they fully release until January.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it this is a huge win for the Seahawks organization. I'm so happy and so excited for the game. You know, not to underestimate the Patriots, but I feel like they've got a little lucky in some of the playoff games this season. Like they had CJ Stroud forgetting how to play football. They had the Broncos having to use a backup, and in multiple of those games, they only won by what, like 3, maybe 6 points or something.
Yeah, they won by one possession.
So, with how good the Seahawks defense is and the fact that we just beat the Rams, who had the number one offense, and we were pretty much outscoring them, that's I would not be surprised if the Seahawks win like 42-6 or something like that. But anything could happen. I really don't care what the final score is. I just want the Seahawks to win.
I did see a map. I think it was a joke though that all of the U.S. besides North Carolina and the Northeast wanted the Seahawks to win.
I think next week we'll have to do a score prediction.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. We'll do a score prediction and give our thoughts about the Pro Bowl games, maybe if they're worth watching.
Do you think Chris Carson's coming back?
I doubt it. I also saw that the Seahawks should give Marshawn Lynch a contract and run the ball with him on the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
Anyways, JSN is the first Seahawks receiver with 10 plus receptions and 150 plus receiving yards in a postseason game. So continuing his regular season success into the playoffs is really good to see. He kind of had a down week against the 49ers, but they were doing outstanding without him. So I guess they were probably pretty much saving him for the Rams.
Yeah. And the Seahawks are now 4-1 in the conference championships. Their only loss was in 1983 in the AFC title game. They used to be in the
Technically
AFC?
4-0. Yeah, they used to be in the AFC when they first started out.
I didn't know that.
So they're technically 4-0 in the NFC title game.
Hey, the Pope did his thing, man.
Yeah, well, actually, I put that in here somewhere, but I don't see it. Oh, yeah. So why don't we just talk about that now since you just brought it up? So we've mentioned this in previous weeks. So there's a new pope. As you may know, he's from Chicago. He didn't help them make it to the Super Bowl. But so the Seahawks won the first seed the year that the Pope was new, the past 3 times. And then the Seahawks had a 3 loss season. So we kind of got some sketchy stuff going on here. Is this script writing? Is it? And they made it to the Super Bowl, like I said, for the third consecutive Pope. So next year we should get another new Pope.
I think Seahawks fans would agree. I don't know that the Catholics would like that.
Just get a new Pope every year.
Yeah, I mean, we can't do that though. And Rashid Shaheed is one kickoff or punt return away from tying the Seahawks franchise record for most combined kick and punt return touchdowns all time, including the postseason. He's only been in Seattle since November, mind you.
I believe he has 3 with Seattle this year. So that's pretty low considering they had Percy Harvin.
So did Rashid do this good at the Saints as a returner?
He was really fast. I believe he is a really good kickoff returner before Seattle too. But I'm sure he had less because he didn't have as good of blockers because the Saints weren't as good of a team.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to predict how someone's going to do in a season with kick returns, but you would think that next year, given a full season, he might be able to break that record.
I do want to add something right now because I just got a notification by Adam Schefter.
Uh-oh.
He said the Pro Football Hall of Fame released a statement today that it could remove voters who violated bylaws. So I don't know if that means they could remove their vote and potentially put a vacant vote, but I wonder if that'll help Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame this year or if it's just going to remove those voters for next year.
So that thing I was talking about might actually be true about
Yeah.
removing people. That's crazy.
Anyways, Matthew Stafford became the first quarterback to lose 2 games versus the same team with 300 plus passing yards, 3 plus touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Of course, he did this week 16 against Seattle and then this past weekend against Seattle.
Which really just shows how much of a battle it has been between the two teams all year.
Yeah, I mean, combine their 2 scores, it's one possession between the 2 scores combined.
I saw that some people still think that um, they're the better team than the Seahawks, but I don't know. I mean, we won two of the three, so
I think if you did it out of 10, it could potentially go 50-50.
yeah, it could. But I think defense is really what wins games in the Super Bowl. We've seen too many Super Bowls just be blowouts or like one score games, you know?
Yeah, like the Falcons choke versus the Patriots.
Yeah. I
Defense
did see
lost that
something
Super
earlier
Bowl.
though that said like statistically teams score more when they're down by a lot. Perhaps one possession games is better for your team winning in some regard. Fun fact. No team has ever scored on Mike McDonald's defense in the fourth quarter of a playoff game.
Yeah, I saw this. I didn't include the players, but it included obviously this year MVP Matthew Stafford, rookie CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, and one other good player. I don't remember. Oh, like Brock Purdy was on there.
You know, when they brought in Mike McDonald, I wasn't sure what to think about him. I liked the idea of rebuilding our defense first, but I'm always a little concerned about when you have defensive-minded coaches. Um, I always kind of am scared they're not gonna score very much, you know? I think he's done a really good job though.
Yeah, I like him as our head coach. It was a good move to get rid of Pete Carroll. We were kind of at a middle grounds with him.
No hate to Pete though. Pete Carroll was a very fun coach to have.
Yeah, I liked Pete Carroll, but we just couldn't get anywhere with him.
Yep, sometimes you just gotta rebuild. That's okay. Also, the Seahawks have not allowed a 100-yard rusher in their last 28 games. The last one was James Cook in October of 2024.
So nearly 1.5 years.
You have to wonder why teams maybe don't throw it a bit more against us. I mean, maybe
It
that's a
all
little predictable, but I don't
it
know.
all depends on who their quarterback talent is, I would say, and their wide receiver core. Like if they have a better running back than they have wide receivers, why would they pass the ball?
Yeah, I mean, then there's a lot of factors. And if you only pass the ball, then it's very predictable after a while.
Yeah, and you also got to think as well as going with those factors. Are you ahead in the game? Are you behind in the game?
Yeah.
If you're ahead, you're going to rush. If you're behind, you're going to pass. So the Patriots beat the Broncos, as we already talked about, 10-7 to move on to the Super Bowl. This is the 12th Super Bowl appearance in franchise history for the Patriots.
So that means you're bracket's officially wrong.
unfortunately.
But you couldn't
I
have predicted the injury,
Yeah,
and it was a close game.
If I would have known Bo Nix was injured, I would have picked the Patriots. Although Stidham didn't have a horrible game.
He did not, and it was a weather game. There's only so much you can do.
I told one of my buddies that's a Patriots fan, I said, because he was boasting all about the Patriots going to the Super Bowl, going to get banner number 7 and everything. I said, if the weather didn't get bad, I honestly think the Broncos could have beat the Patriots.
I think so too. I think they held the lead at one point, right?
Yeah, they were up 7-0 at one point. That was in the first quarter.
Speaking of Jarrett Stidham, he's the first quarterback since 1972 to make his first start of a season in the conference championship or later. He's also the first quarterback to start a conference championship game against the team that drafted him. The Patriots drafted him in 2019.
He's the second QB in NFL history to start a playoff game without throwing a pass in the regular season and has the fewest starts by a quarterback to start a conference championship game.
I think he did pretty good overall.
Yeah, I think that was his fourth start. So, for his fourth start and almost advancing his team to the Super Bowl, it's pretty impressive. I think that game could potentially get him a bigger contract. I don't know what he's making in Denver,
Yeah.
but he could go to the Jets potentially and get a decent contract as a starter.
Fun fact, Mike Vrabel is the first person to ever start for and head coach the same franchise in a Super Bowl, and has a chance to be the first person to win a Super Bowl as a player and a head coach for the same franchise. That, of course, being the Broncos. What?
I thought it was the Chargers.
Huh? Wait.
Hey, you said Broncos. I don't know if you meant to.
That, of course, is the Patriots. When did when did he play for the Patriots?
He played with Brady on the Patriots, but I don't know when his career started on the Patriots. He also played at Ohio State.
What was his position?
He was a defensive lineman. My bad, he was a linebacker.
And we talked about this a little last week, but the last four teams remaining either had a head coach with either the first name Mike or Sean, and after this week's games, we will now have a Super Bowl of Mike versus Mike.
Mike Tyson.
And fun fact, this is the third time this has happened. We had Mike Shanahan versus Mike Holmgren in 1998 Super Bowl, Mike Tomlin versus Mike McCarthy in the 2011 Super Bowl, and then Mike McDonald versus Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl this year. That's kind of a crazy coincidence, but I do know Mike is a pretty common name.
Interesting fact, though, those are almost exactly the same amount of years apart. One's 13 and one's 15.
And the NFC has one every year.
Have they actually?
No, I don't know.
I think McCarthy won in 2011, but I don't know if Mike Shanahan won. Or no, Mike Holmgren was on the Packers.
You should look it up, actually.
1998 Super Bowl. The Broncos beat the Green Bay Packers. So, no.
Ah, all right, so it's 50-50. I was just trying to give the Seahawks one more chance at winning.
But
And
the Seahawks have proven themselves in 50-50 games. They beat the 49ers and they beat the Rams.
true. For the first time ever, there will be a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl who was born in the 2000s. That, of course, being Drake May.
It makes me feel like I'm getting old.
I wouldn't say it makes me feel old. It makes me feel like I should have been in the Super Bowl myself.
Makes me feel like I should have been Drake May.
Yeah.
Next up, we got to talk about him. Sam the Man Darnold.
I keep seeing something go around about his grandpa. Apparently, his grandfather was a Marlboro cigarette commercial man or something. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
He's got like a mustache, and everyone's like, "Yeah, no wonder Sam Darnold made it to the Super Bowl. His grandpa's awesome."
Anyways, he's the first quarterback from the 2018 draft class to make the Super Bowl. He's also the first quarterback in NFL history to win at least 30 games in a 2 season span with different teams.
Mind you, that 2018 draft class has people like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and who else?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. That's crazy.
I
He's
don't
also
I don't
good.
think they are talking about being on the bench, but he's the first I believe he's the first bench player and the first starter because he was on the bench in 2023 for the 49ers Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, I actually saw an interview said like, "How does it feel to go to your first Super Bowl?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I already did." But, I don't think that compares to this though. I don't even think that's gonna prep him for this fully.
No, but I think he's had a good playoffs overall, so I think he can continue that success. Although I have heard that the Patriots have a pretty good defense. He is also the first USC quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. USC has 26 quarterbacks that have been drafted into the NFL, and they are the most of any school to have quarterbacks drafted. Sam Darnold also threw a season high 346 yards on a 25 out of 36 completion and 3 touchdowns. So Sam the man is the man. Let's just hope he can beat Drake May May.
I've been really pleasantly surprised with Sam Darnold. I still don't think he's the best quarterback ever, but I'm really glad we got him, and I think he's been a really useful quarterback for us.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I was really skeptical on how he would do because everybody was talking bad about him and stuff. And I watched him play at the Jets and at the Panthers and the 49ers. And
And I will say, outside of his play, like all that aside, he is a very like nice guy, I feel like.
yeah, I would say he's pretty mellow. Devontae Adams is now 0-5 in NFC Championship games. And he lost to the 2014 Seahawks, the 2016 Falcons, the 2019 49ers, and the 2022, not 2022, the 2020 Buccaneers, which all those were with the Packers up until this point, and then his recent loss to the 2025 Seahawks.
Yeah, he's been one of the best wide receivers in the league for a while, but just can't make it to the Super Bowl, unfortunately.
Kind of like Tyler Lockett, unfortunately, with the Seahawks.
Yeah, but he wanted a lot of money, so I'm not surprised the Seahawks got rid of him. As sad as it is to see him not make the Super Bowl again. Was he on our Super Bowl team when they lost?
No, he came the year after.
Ah, well, that really sucks then.
He didn't even get to experience the Super Bowl.
He was always one of my favorite punt returners and kick returners in Madden.
Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoyed playing with him. Not like that.
Time to clip that. Um, moving on. Teams that played in a dome stadium are now 0-16 in outdoor conference championships games. Kind of just goes to show that having a dome could be potentially bad. I could see the NFL like standardizing it where they have to have a dome, but if they don't standardize it, which I think is the most likely case, it might be worth it to not have a dome. And actually, this answers one of my questions about why the Bills are building a new stadium without a dome. Because I figured with where they play, they would want a dome.
I mean, it kind of gives them an advantage for when they play cold weather games. They're already used to the cold weather.
True. Just kind of sucks for the fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to just quickly list all the 16 of those teams?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
So we got the 77 Vikings who lost to the Cowboys,
The 78 Titans lost to the Steelers.
'79 Titans lost to the Steelers.
The '83 Seahawks lost to the Rams.
The '87 Vikings lost to the Redskins.
The '91 Lions lost to the Redskins.
The '95 Colts lost to the Steelers.
The 2000 Vikings lost to the Giants.
The '03 Colts lost to the Patriots.
The '04 Falcons lost to the Eagles.
The '06 Saints lost to the Bears.
The '14 Colts lost to the Patriots.
The '15 Cardinals lost to the Panthers.
The '17 Vikings lost to the Eagles.
The '23 Lions lost to the '49ers.
And the '25 Rams lost to the Seahawks.
So definitely a trend. I would say since it's 0-16.
Yeah. You know,
So
the Seahawks almost relocated to LA once
I did hear about that.
because of their dome stadium. Apparently, from what I heard, the owner claimed that there was like damage to it and they needed something safer. But I don't know if that was actually confirmed or if that was just him trying to go to LA.
And then he was getting fined or something each day they stayed in LA.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. I forgot about that. The Seahawks did technically move to LA, but I don't think they ever like played there, right?
No, they were just there to train for the season, and
Yeah.
the owner was like, "Yeah, bring these players back."
So yeah. That dome is full of bad luck, I guess. We lost to the Rams there. Well, not there, but
We lost to the Rams after having a home stadium there,
yeah.
the King Dome.
I miss Century Link, honestly. I think that's a better name.
Yeah, although Lumen Field is a lot shorter and probably easier to say than just go, "Oh, we're going to CenturyLink Field."
It's funny that we talk about the names as if they're super cool, but in the end they're just brands.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I like the McDonald's field.
So Lumen is a technology, so kind of like it's a telecom technology. So kind of like CenturyLink, I'd say, because isn't CenturyLink Wi-Fi?
Century Link is a Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. So ESPN released a top 50 free agents list, but I decided to go with the top 30 because the 20 players beyond 30 I didn't really know besides a couple of them. So I didn't feel like they were well known enough to mention. So sorry if your favorite player is in the free agency this season and I didn't mention them.
And with our cap space, aside from re-signing JSN and possibly Kenneth Walker, we might be able to pick up some of these guys.
Yeah, we'll pick up your favorite player from your favorite team.
Well, first of all, ranked at number one, we have Ed Trey Hendrickson.
Then we got wide receiver George Pickens,
Center Tyler Linderbaum,
quarterback Daniel Jones.
which could be a good pickup, I feel like. I feel like he could be a Sam Darnold sort of situation where under the right team he could excel.
I think if he went back to the Colts, they could potentially make the playoffs next season because they were in that direction until he got injured.
We got Edge Jalen Phillips,
Wide receiver Alec Pierce,
running back Brees Hall,
offensive tackle Rasheed Walker,
Edge Odafe Owa,
offensive tackle Braden Smith,
defensive lineman John Franklin Myers,
cornerback Alante Taylor,
linebacker Quay Walker.
cornerback Rick Wallen.
We might want him back, right?
I don't know after costing us some yards in that game for taunting.
Well, that's true. He did apologize though.
Yeah, and then he let up a touchdown the next play to Puka Nakua.
Yeah, Puka's pretty tough to guard though. Wide receiver Mike Evans,
Cornerback Jalen Watson,
quarterback Malik Willis,
running back Travis Etienne Jr.,
linebacker Devin Lloyd,
tight end Isaiah Likely,
wide receiver Romeo Dobbs,
edge Khalil Mack,
I thought Khalil Mack retired.
No, he's on the Chargers.
Isn't he kind of old?
He's getting there, yeah.
Tight end Kyle Pitts.
Running back Kenneth Walker the third.
I swear, if we don't get him again.
we'll
Safety
sign
Brian.
we'll sign Chris Carson.
I liked Chris Carson. He just unfortunately couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, I liked him too.
Safety Brian Cook.
Wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. Hopefully we can pick him up again.
Yeah. Edge Clavon Chason. I'm definitely pronouncing all these names perfectly.
I think there's only one you haven't pronounced good, and that was Odafe Owe. But that's kind of hard to say. I don't even know if I pronounced it right. Wide receiver Jawan Jennings
Running back Javonte Williams.
and edge Boye Mafe. We should bring him back too.
And now moving on to our last part of this segment, the coaching news. This has been a crazy year for coaching changes. The Chiefs are extending offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy.
The Vikings are extending their defensive coordinator Brian Flores.
The Ravens are hiring Chargers former defensive coordinator Jesse Minter as their new head coach. Thoughts on this?
Um, I don't know. I haven't really watched the Chargers this season to know if he's a good defensive coordinator. So I know they had a pretty good season. They were like 11-6, I believe. So I mean, defense has to play a role in some wins. So I think it's a big change from John Harbaugh to Jesse Minter, but
It
I
is a
think they
big
could.
change, but most coaches win Super Bowls in their first couple years, so
Yeah, so I guess we'll see if he can make it happen with Lamar, and maybe their defense can build off of a defensive-minded head coach,
yeah.
like the Seahawks did.
And the Steelers, in somewhat surprising news, are hiring Cowboys former head coach Mike McCarthy as their new head coach.
I did see he wants to bring back Aaron Rodgers next season.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw a lot of people are kind of skeptical about this hiring.
I think he could bring them some success. He was a pretty good Packers head coach. Not so much success at the Cowboys, but because I mean, the Cowboys made it to the playoffs a couple times, but as we all know, the Cowboys are the only team in the NFC to not make it to the conference championship game since like 2010, I think. So anyways, the Buccaneers are hiring Falcons' former offensive coordinator Zach Robinson as their next offensive coordinator.
And the Packers are hiring former Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator. I did think their defense had some issues during the Bears game, so this could be a big pickup if he actually knows how to play good defense.
Dolphins are promoting their senior pass game coordinator Bobby Slowick as their new offensive coordinator.
Titans are hiring Brian Dable as their next head coach. I don't know much about
He was, I forgot to put that on there. He was the Giants head coach, former Giants head coach.
uh well that's certainly a choice.
The Bills are promoting their offensive coordinator Joe Brady to be the next head coach.
Could be good for them, honestly.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Joe Brady, so
I think at the end of the day they need to get a line because
yeah.
I think they have some of the most like I forget what the stats called, but it's like where the quarterback has to scramble. I guess most pressure allowed of any team.
Yeah, probably pressures.
So, yeah, that would help. And the Jets are parting ways with offensive coordinator Tanner Eng Engstrand.
Broncos are firing their offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi.
Is he related to Lombardi?
No, I'm going to look it up now.
And the Browns are hiring former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken as their next head coach.
Joe Lombardi is the grandson of Vince Lombardi.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
I
not
think
so
this.
cool now because he got fired.
Well, yeah. I think the Browns could benefit from this head coach, possibly. It's hard to say though.
I just saw something actually. Uh, the Michigan coaching staff from 21 to 23 featured three NFL head coaches. So the Mike McDonald on the Seahawks, uh, Jim Harbaugh, obviously, on the Chargers, and now Jesse Minter on the Ravens. So it's kind of Ohio State versus Michigan in the Super Bowl.
I guess so. All right, now we're going to move on to the NBA. The Knicks set a new franchise record for the largest margin of victory in their franchise's history. They beat the Brooklyn Nets by 54 points, 120 to 66. The previous record was 48 points, but that record was done three separate times.
Pacers beat the Thunder 117 to 114. And by the way, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 47 points. So it wasn't his fault. Anyway, the next game, the Raptors beat them too, making it impossible for them to beat the Warriors' regular season record of 73-9. They are currently 38-10. Now they were 68-14 last season, so they could beat their last season's record, but it's going to be a bit tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight, especially since they just lost two games in a row before their last win. So they just beat the Pelicans, but I think it was a fairly close game too.
Yeah, that
Seems like
fight
they've been
afterwards.
struggling against some of the lower ranked teams this year, like the Hornets, the Thunder, or the Pacers, and then nah, Raptors are pretty decent. But mind you, the Hornets in January have been amazing. They've been winning their games like 150, 160 points sometimes. The January Hornets might go down in history.
So there was a game earlier this week that the Nets played the Celtics. This game went into overtime. The Celtics were down by 5 with 5 seconds left in the first overtime. I believe the Celtics made a three, making it 114 or something like that to 115. No, 116. And then the Nets made a free throw, and then they missed the other free throw. And the Celtics went down and scored another three, and they inevitably won in double overtime. I just wanted to point that out because it's pretty impressive that they were down by 5 and 5 seconds left and were still able to force double overtime.
And fun fact, Miles Bridges is already third most in points in Hornets history. The Melo Ball is ninth place. I was looking at this list not too long ago, and it's kind of a weird list because I don't know what happened, but I guess the Hornets just rarely stick with players for a long time
Yeah, I saw
because
Terry Rozier's like top five too.
yeah, and like Del Curry, who played on the bench at times, was maybe top of the list, if not high
Yeah, he
up.
was first.
So I think that just goes to show that if they ever get a like long lasting player that's really, really good, he could easily get first place, I would say. But that somewhat makes sense though, because they've gotten so many good picks, they trade those players away sometimes. Like what, Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah.
So
Steph Curry passed John Havlicek for top 20 in all time scoring. I know last week we talked about Kevin Durant passing Michael Jordan for sixth in all time scoring.
yeah.
So a lot of scoring records being set or surpassed,
And I don't really think of Steph Curry as someone who's like an all-time scoring leader.
even though he's first in 3 points.
Yeah. Luka Doncic scored his second 45 plus point, 10 plus assist game and tied Elgin Baylor for the most in Lakers history.
I think Luca is good for the Lakers, but he's a defensive uh, priority or whatever. I don't know what I want to say.
Liability.
Yeah, Luca is a really good offensive player, but he is a defensive liability. So, I mean, there's trade offs. He gets the points, but he allows the points. So,
I
uh,
did see a Jimmy High Roller video once that showed that he's actually a better defender than most people think.
he's also been allowing a lot of turnovers I've seen recently. So, the Lakers been playing bad defense overall all season. They've had a couple games where they're really good at defense, and then they just don't care the next game. Clingham set the Trailblazers franchise record for the most offensive rebounds in a game. He had 13 offensive rebounds.
And the Clippers have now won 9 of their last 10 games. They're 2 away from a .500 record. Is that still true?
Yeah, I that was just added today, as of today. But I believe they're in like the 11th or 10th seed, so they're right outside the playoffs right now, or in the play-in tournament. So they're a lot of people are saying that they think CP3 is the reason why they're playing bad. So I think they could make a push for the playoffs. Do I think they're going to make it to the second or third round? More than likely not. But it's very well likely.
Yeah. They had a rough start to the year, but they are slowly turning it around. I mean, they have
So,
too many good players on their team not to be good, I feel like.
so as of Wednesday, today, there is a lot of stuff going around about Giannis. So he's reportedly ready to move on from the Bucks as the team starts to listen to aggressive offers.
Didn't he just say he was gonna stay there his whole career?
Yeah, he originally stated a few weeks ago he wanted to play his whole career in Milwaukee. So I've seen some things about the Warriors have the most attractive package. The Knicks, Heat, and Timberwolves join the Warriors as a serious contender. So I guess we'll find out on the next podcast episode what happens with Giannis as the trade deadline ends.
There's always a lot of speculation that Giannis will go to the Warriors. Every year it happens. Never does. But this year, I've heard they're talking about doing some sort of 3-team trade maybe, where like the Warriors get Andrew Wiggins and Giannis by giving up an injured Jimmy Butler and some other stuff. I don't quite get how that's gonna happen, but if it happens, I'll be a very happy Warriors fan as much as I would hate to see Jimmy go.
Yeah, I'd hate to see it as a Lakers fan. I also saw there's talks about LeBron going back to Cleveland, him and Bronny going back to Cleveland for his final season, which I wouldn't mind
I
if,
would love to see LeBron and Curry team up, to be honest. But I think Giannis and Curry is a better chance at a championship.
yeah, because LeBron's getting up there in age and Giannis is still real agile and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Giannis is a pretty good defender too. That almost solves some of the Warriors not having a center problem. Well, we'll have to see what happens. My guess is nothing's gonna happen, but who knows? Now we're gonna move on to some injuries. John Morant is out until after the trade deadline with an elbow sprain. Giannis is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a right calf strain, and Steven Adams underwent season-ending surgery on his left ankle. I did see that he is in pretty high spirits though, which is pretty normal for him, I would say.
Yeah, I wonder how much that Giannis injury will take effect on the value of him, uh, for the Bucks to get rid of him.
I don't think much. I don't think a calf strain is serious enough to really, you know, matter. Anyone that's going to take Giannis now is planning on going to the championship this year or next year. All right, now we're going to move on to our sumo segment. And this is the last week we are going to cover this, unless we decide to do this in the future. So, last week on day 11, we ended with a three-way tie. Aonishiki, Atami Fuji, and Abi were all tied for first place, and with a record of 9-2. On day 12, Nishiki Fuji was out for the rest of the tournament. An old knee and neck issue apparently was worsening, so he dropped out of the tournament. Daisho had a good win against Oshoma. He was 5-7 at the time. And Ura beat Hakuno Fuji, so he was 2-10. But he looked really slow, not really like his usual fast style. So this whole tournament, I've kind of wondered, is he injured or something? Because he's kind of been on the decline in the past couple years, but to go 2-10, I don't know. Yoshino Fuji lost to Wakataka Kage, but it was back and forth. They're both 6-6 at that point. And then Shishi beat Oho. He was 9-3. Uh, 9-2 Abi had to fight 7-4 Kotozakura, who he was 6-13 against all time. And Abi lost fairly quickly. So I guess that's just someone he just can't beat, unfortunately. So he dropped to 9-3. And I figured this would probably ruin his chances at winning the tournament. We'll see if that comes true. 9-2 Atami Fuji had to fight 9-2 Aonishiki. And Aonishiki won. So with Abi losing and them placing, Tommy Fuji went up to first place after day 12. This also broke Tommy Fuji's 9-day winning streak. At this point, I was thinking Aonishiki really has a really decent chance at winning this tournament. And Hoshoryu lost to Kirishima, so Kirishima was 9-3, Hoshoryu was 8-4. Onosato beat Takayasu, Papa Bear. So he was 8-4, and Takayasu was 7-5 at that point. I've heard some people are saying this is some of the worst Yokozuna, the top ranks we've seen in a long time, because both of them were kind of bad this tournament. You can have a winning record as a Yokozuna and still be considered bad too. So my fight of the day was Aonishiki versus Atama Fuji, simply because of the importance of that fight. Moving on to day 13, Toki Hayate versus Tomokaze had a very weird ending. Tomokaze threw Toki Hayate down, but as he stepped to the side, he tripped over his own leg and fell first. So that was kind of interesting. 9-3 Abi had to fight 9-3 Atami Fuji, and Abi lost almost immediately. He like lost his balance and slipped after the initial hit. It was kind of odd. I'm sure he was kind of disappointed because at this point he had then lost 2 days in a row. Does that upset you, Nick, as an Abi fan?
Um, well, I'm also an Naonishiki fan. So,
Fair enough.
so I guess hand in hand, I wish Abi was doing as good as Aonishiki because he's the underdog, and I wanted him to win this tournament since he was the underdog. But at least the other guy's doing good.
Yeah. I was really excited to see Albie doing so well for this entire tournament, but towards the end, he just kind of, I don't know if he just took his foot off the gas or just had opponents that he's just not good against, but yeah, a little unfortunate there. Hakuno Fuji skipped this day's fight. At this point, he is reported to be possibly out for the rest of the tournament. Apparently, he hurt his left big toe against Aonishiki on day 11. I actually don't remember after this if he actually was out for the rest of the fight
He
or
was
rest of the
according to
tournament.
the standard or the
Was he?
standings.
Okay. And then Ura, of course, lost to Takanosho, so he was 2-11. The reason I keep even bringing up Ura is because he was like my favorite wrestler for a long time. So this is just sad to see his downfall. However, on day 13, Daisho beat Yoshino Fuji. He's now won 5 out of the last 6 matches, so both of those were 6-7 at this point. I really thought that Daisho made a big turnaround late in this tournament. However, Yoshi did the opposite. Yoshi started off really good with those two wins against the Yokozuna and then kind of fell off. But I think Yoshi being young has a lot of potential.
Yoshi went 6-7.
Well, on day 13. Yeah. Oshumi, who was 9-3, lost to Wakamata Haru. So Oshumi at that point was unlikely to win the tournament. And Takayasu, Papa Bear, was he won against 9-3 Asanoyama. So Asanoyama was unlikely to win as well. Takayasu was 8-5 at this point. Good tournament for him. 9-3 Kirishima fought 9-3 Shishi. Shishi lost, but he's still in a good spot given his record to achieve the highest rank he's ever reached after this tournament. Kirishima remains a possible winner in this tournament. Onishiki beat Hoshoryu, the Yokozuna. So he is 5-0 versus the Yokozuna all time. Uh, I thought Onishiki looked really good that fight. So he was 11-2 and the clear favorite to win this tournament at this point. My fight of the day, Onishiki versus Hoshoryu. Day 14, Oshumi versus Hirodumi was an amazing fight. Both of them were 9-4 going into it, and Hirodumi started great, almost pushing Oshumi out, but then Oshumi kind of like locked in, I guess, and pushed him all the way across the ring and out. He just found almost like he found a new gear, I guess. So Oshumi after this tournament will reach a new career high. He's only 24. Yoshino Fuji beat Shishi, so Shishi is no, so Yoshi is 7-7 and Shishi is 9-5. I was really impressed with Shishi this tournament, but towards the later parts he started to lose a little bit more. I think he was still in place to reach a career high though. Ura beat Oho somehow, so he's 3-11. And then 10-3 Kirishima fought 10-3 Atami Fuji. These are the only two people other than Nishiki who could win the tournament still. So this fight was a pretty big deal. Going into this, Kirishima was 7-2 all time versus Atami Fuji. But Atami Fuji won. And Atami Fuji is only 23 years old. So after this tournament, he'll reach his highest rank. I definitely think he has a bright future ahead. 9-4 Abi fought 8-5 Takayasu Papa Bear, and Abi won. So a little bit of a bounce back. I thought it was worth pointing out that Hoshoryu did a very nasty throw on Kotozakura. It almost looked like a movie, like it was planned or something. Like he straight up just flipped the guy. 11-2 Aonishiki fought 9-4 Yokozuna Onosato. So while he was 5-0 against Hoshoryu, the other Yokozuna Onosato, unfortunately, he was 0-3 against going into this fight all time. And Aonishiki lost. So now he's 0-4 against Onosato. This is kind of a big deal because if Aonishiki does end up getting promoted, he's going to be fighting Onosato quite a lot. And it's going to be hard to make himself known as the best of the three Yokozuna. This also is a little concerning for his chances at winning the tournament. After this tournament, I found out that Aonishiki wasn't fighting Atami Fuji on the final day, even though they had the same record. And the reason for this is because the committee still considers ranks when matchmaking. Um, so this means in some regards, lower ranks have an easier path to winning the tournament, but they often have to win the playoff to win. So in that sense, it's a little bit trickier because the playoff is likely against a higher rank. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Also, before I learned about the matchups, um, before the final day, if everything went in a very specific way with wins and losses and matchups, then day 15 could have ended with a six-man playoff, which the largest ever playoff was an eight-man playoff. However, that was not the case. So my fight of the day on day 14 was Oshumi versus Hirodumi. Alright, now we're on to day 15, the final day. Fujinokawa beat Toki Hayate to finish 10-5. This will be his new highest rank after this tournament, and he's only 20 years old. So remember, Fujinokawa, I think he's potentially a next great sumo wrestler, maybe. Atami Fuji beat Oshumi, so he'll face Aonishiki in the playoff if Aonishiki wins. Oshumi finished 10-5. Also, Atami Fuji is expected to win the award for uh, beating the Yokozuna and doing well. So he's expected to win the Fighting Spirit Prize and the Outstanding Performance Award. Daieisho beat Shishi, so he finishes 7-8. Shishi finished 9-6. I was very impressed with Shishi this tournament, and I was impressed with Daieisho at the end. So my prediction about Daieisho being one to watch day one kind of turned out somewhat true, even though he had more losses than wins. If he would have started a little bit better, could have been good. Ura beat Tamawashi, so he finished 4-11. It was a very fun fight with a great end, so I almost wonder if this is a sign of things to come, like Ura's finally over the slump of whatever it was he was going through. Yoshino Fuji beat Oshoma to finish 8-7, and he beat both Yokozuna this tournament, so he is expected to win the Outstanding Performance Award. Definitely one to watch. Churanomi beat Takayasu, so Takayasu finished 8-7. I thought he had a really good start of the tournament, but he almost seemed tired in the later parts. I don't know. His fighting style was very like strength focused, so I could see him being tired at end of tournaments, I suppose. He's also on the older side. Kirishima and Abi fought. The winner of this fight was expected to receive the Fighting Spirit Prize. So they were both 10-4 going into the fight, and Kirishima won. So Kirishima finished 11-4. Abi finishes 10-5. What are your thoughts on Abi this tournament, Nick?
Big turnaround for him after having, I think he had no winning tournaments before that.
Yeah, at least in a couple tournaments, yeah. It's unfortunate that he kind of fell off towards the end, but that's okay. 11-3 Al-Nishiki fought 8-6 Kotozakura. Mind you, even though he's 8-6, he is an Ozeki, the same rank as Al-Nishiki. Al-Nishiki had to win this game to force a tournament, or force a playoff this tournament. And Al-Nishiki did it, he won. Both Yokozuna fought today, 9-5 Hoshoryu and 10-4 Onosato. Historically, Hoshoryu is 7-2 versus Onosato, and Hoshoryu won. So they both finished this tournament 10-5, which is pretty underwhelming for a Yokozuna. Alright, so now we're on to the playoff. Aonishiki and Atami Fuji fought in the playoff to decide the winner of the tournament. They were given plenty of time to rest, but Aonishiki, his earlier fight was a little longer than Atami Fuji's, so some people theorized that he was going to be a little bit more tired going into this fight. Atami Fuji and Aonishiki fought, and Atami Fuji actually looked like he was about to win. He had Aonishiki's feet on the line, but Aonishiki fought hard and threw Atami Fuji out. So Aonishiki won his second tournament in a row. He's very likely to be promoted to Yokozuna soon as well if he keeps up a good tournament. If that's the case, he'll be Europe's first ever Yokozuna. Also, I forgot to mention this, but late in the tournament, Aonishiki switched his Mawashi color from a dark blue to black. Uh, he said he didn't really put much thought into it. It really was just the Mawashi that his trainer or coach, I guess, used to wear. So his coach asked him if he wanted to wear it, and he accepted it. Some people are really liking the new look. I think black is a kind of symbolic color of like kind of a bad boy type thing, you know? So people are really into that now. But yeah, I just thought this was an amazing tournament overall. Maybe the best tournament I've ever seen. So my fight of the day has to be, of course, the playoff between Al Nishiki versus Atami Fuji. With that being said, here's some the final awards. Aonishiki won the Emperor's Cup and the Prime Minister's Cup, as well as the tournament. Yoshino Fuji won the Outstanding Performance Award, and Kirishima as well as Atami Fuji won the Fighting Spirit Prize. One thing to note is Onishiki became the first newly promoted Ozeki to win a tournament in almost 20 years. And it's predicted that if Onishiki goes 13-2 or better in the next tournament, especially with a win, he's almost guaranteed to be a Yokozuna. If he goes 12-3, depending on who he beats and how he looks, he could also be promoted. But if he goes 11-4 or worse, most people think that he's going to have to kind of win multiple tournaments again to become Yokozuna. So I will say, while it's not a lock and there is a risk of making it an uphill battle if he does do bad, if he does good, which I think he's never done worse than like 11. I think he's never done worse than 11 wins in a tournament in Division 1 or something like that. So if he does well, he should become Yokozuna, the first ever European to do so. So I don't know about you, Nick, but this March tournament has me very excited.
Well, hopefully, Abe can win this next tournament.
That could mean Nishi might not become Yokozuna though.
Okay, Anishiki wins the next one, and
And then
Abe
Avi
wins the
wins
next
the
one.
next one. Sure. Avi can get second next tournament. Yeah, this was a great tournament. So I highly recommend watching it or really getting into sumo if you haven't already. All right, now we're going to move on to our last segment, the miscellaneous segment. So one thing I saw is that the U.S. men's national team announced their World Cup kits. They're based on an older jersey design. Actually, I think two different designs. I think one was like in the 90s maybe, and the other was sometime in the 2000s, 2010s maybe. But this time it has sort of a waving U.S. flag look to it. And I don't know about you, Nick, but I love this design. I like how it isn't just straight lines.
Yeah, I like that they actually took some time and thought into it.
I I kind of am usually a fan of the blue jerseys, but I think this looks very nice.
Purdue guard Braden Smith passed Gary Payton for 13th all-time assist leader for men's basketball. Kind of hoping we could see some history and maybe he goes to first, but I know he's got a little ways to go yet.
Yeah, and I don't know what year he's in or like how long he's gonna stay there.
I think they're talking about him potentially going to the draft.
Yeah. Also, AJ Bybansta scored 43 points, setting the single game BYU freshman scoring record. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he'll be a top pick in the draft this year. St. Louis men's basketball team improves to 18-1, and they're currently ranked 24. This is, I believe, lower ranked, like NAIA or whatever it is.
Uh, Nebraska's men basketball gets their first loss of the season to Michigan. So Nebraska's basketball team is now 1-13 all time in Ann Arbor. And lastly, number 1 Arizona and number 24 Miami, Ohio are the last two undefeated teams remaining in college basketball. Arizona doesn't surprise me that much, but Miami, Ohio does, even though I know they haven't played anyone like super high ranked yet.
Yeah, and they almost lost to UMass the other night, 86-84.
So that might be a fun underdog team to kind of root for during March Madness if they make it.
I want to see who maybe their hardest opponent was this season. Um, they played nobody. Maybe Bowling Green, but they are in the same conference, so it's not like it's a different opponent.
Yeah.
But they did go into overtime and back-to-back games against Buffalo and Kent State. Do they play anybody good the rest of the season? Maybe NIU. Yeah, they have a pretty easy schedule based off of who they've already beaten.
So there's a good chance they make March Madness then.
Yeah, but I doubt they make a deep run. No hate, but with them having that easy of a schedule and then going up against a team like Arizona or something.
When I believe there's a stat like no team below 16 or something like that has ever won a championship. Like
Oh,
ranked 16? I don't know
like the
actually.
AP poll or whatever.
I don't remember if it was AP poll or if it was like the underdog going into the round of 16. I don't know. Anyways,
So I believe the Winter Olympics start next Friday. So if we
they do?
decide to cover it, not this Friday, next Friday. So if we decide to cover it, it won't
When
be
is
for
the
another two
opening
episodes.
when is the opening ceremony?
When is the Winter Olympics opening ceremony? February 6th. So Friday.
Hmm. I always the Winter Olympics always sneaks up on me. I don't feel like there's as much advertising as the Summer Olympics.
Yeah, I feel like because there's a lot more known sports in the Summer Olympics, or the other Olympics, I should say, with basketball and swimming and
Yeah, I really like the Winter Olympics though. I like watching curling and ice skating and stuff.
yeah, I love watching curling. My cousin, who's actually about to have a baby, said that he can't wait to watch curling for the next 12 weeks.
You know though, this is 12 weeks. It's not 12 weeks.
It's not 12 weeks long, but that's how long he's going to be out of commission.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's only gonna watch curling for 12 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, he'll watch the
Anyways,
highlights.
anyways, well, I guess that's good timing because we needed to fill in college football. We can have a whole Olympic segment.
And then by that time, when are the Olympics done? When are Olympic winter over? February 22nd. So about that time, we'll be getting into some March Madness. So it kind of fills some gaps where we're losing stuff because we'll also be losing the NFL right after the Winter Olympics start.
You get your USA chants ready.
Yeah, no more Seahawks or Buckeyes until March Madness, but USA, USA.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. As always, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Adios.